Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is with us right now. Mr. Attorney General, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Your reaction to what you're hearing and to the President's immigration plan announced yesterday.
You know what? I guess I look at it a little differently than the reporter. It's nice finally to have a plan, a strategic plan about what we're trying to do with immigration. We've gone along for decades with no plan, and finally you've got an administration and potentially a Congress that actually wants to put together a strategic plan that makes sense to protect American workers and still provide legal immigration. So, I think it's great.
So, but the idea that they're going to be cutting the number of green cards, they want to cut the number of green cards issued. Right now we issue 1 million green cards a year. They want to cut it down to 500,000 and also put into effect employment. So if you have a certain skill set, you go to the front of the line. If you speak English, you go to the front of the line. Immigrants with high-paying job offers go to the front of the line. You think it's reducing family ties?
Yeah, and I think part of the problem here is they're trying to protect the American worker. You've got issues with people coming here, taking jobs from American workers, reducing wages, and so I think you need to take that into consideration as you allow immigrants into this country. How is it going to impact the people that are here? And I feel like that's what this is an attempt to do.
You know, Mr. Attorney General, you're absolutely right. Virtually every college and university in America loses money on every student they educate. And yet we have laws on the books that says if somebody comes here and gets a Ph.D. and has a student visa, once they get the Ph.D., they got to go home. This is before Trump. This has gone on for years. All of this talent that we're training at a loss to us and obligating to send them home, this is nuts. This argument, you're absolutely right. This argument is about defining what we really stand for and how we're going to do it, and it's fair to everybody.
There's no reason that we shouldn't do what's in our best interest. And if we're going to educate people from other countries, why shouldn't we do our best to keep those educated people here? We've invested in them,
that's
and then we allow them to leave. It's not in our best interest.
We tell them they have to leave.
Yeah. Well,
absolutely.
Guy Benson, Dagan, how do you see it?
This actually, rather than limiting the talent that comes to America, it will make room for those very people, as you guys have been talking about, because out of this 1 million green card number every year, it's less than 1/5 are related to employment base, and that when we look at Canada and Australia, they offer a greater proportion of admissions based on employment than we do here in the United States. We want to make room to keep those most talented people, so they want to come here and build businesses, establish businesses, create jobs.
Why out of the 1 million green cards that we issue every year, 2/3 of those are tied to family ties, whereas if an immigrant has a green card currently, their family gets an easier. But 2/3, I understand that, but 2/3?
Right, and it's extended family. It's not just immediate family. It's not just young children and immediate relatives. It is the large family, but 2/3 of that 1 million number is for
My
family.
grandparents came to America, and when they died, they barely could speak English. But my grandfather insisted that his children and his grandchildren, speak English. My grandfather said, we came to America, the language is English, we want to participate.
I actually regret that, because my mother used to speak, my mother used to speak to her mother in Italian, hang up the phone, and then she would speak to us in English, and I wish I spoke better Italian, basically.
The only time I heard Italian was when my mother and father were talking to each other, and they didn't want me to know what they were talking about.
Mr. A.J., final word from you here. A lot of people do not think this is going to go anywhere. It's not going to pass, this bill. But what is the fix that you think is realistic that could pass in terms of immigration reform?
Well, it's hard to know with the way the Senate operates today what, if anything, can pass. What I like about at least the thinking of this is we actually are trying to figure out what's in our best interest. And it does seem like focusing on how does it impact jobs, how does it impact wages, what does it do for our country is a good way to look at this. It's as good as any way I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, how else are you going to look at it? You're the President of the United States. You're fighting for the American worker. I get it. Attorney General Paxton, good to see you, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Have a great day.
Thanks so much for joining us.